Recently on social media, I wrote the following post. Quote, I'm seeing a lot of comments like these on animal rights posts lately. Please speak up for the animals dying in Gaza, like the donkeys being killed by IDF airstrikes, or the zoo animals dying and not being fed due to the ongoing genocide. You are an animal rights page, right? These comments are actually disingenuous, and the people making them are not actually interested in animal rights, but rather interested in finding a way to take a cheap dig at Israel. If such comments were actually about animal rights and not a cheap way to take a dig at Israel and Israelis, the comments would look like this. Please speak up for the animals being enslaved in Palestine who are forced by Palestinians into a war zone without their consent. Animals like donkeys are being bred by Palestinians into horrendous war zones to carry heavy loads and then face horrific slaughter, should they not be killed first by bombs. Some donkeys have even been used by Hamas as suicide bomber animals. You can ask such people if it would be okay to write such a comment in order to stress test what indeed their motivation is. Watch as they soon change their tack the minute you change who the oppressor is. Sorry, but I'm not going to entertain BS derails, written largely by non-vegans by the way, that aim to use animals as a way to take a cheap shot at a country they dislike. That's animal exploitation, and we don't do that around here. End quote. While this post didn't receive a huge amount of backlash on Facebook or YouTube, it created an absolute shitstorm on Instagram, with hundreds of unfollows coming my way, either from people who don't understand my statement or who are too emotionally caught up in the current situation to think critically, or are indeed the very apologists or non-vegans I'm talking about. So I thought I'd make this statement vid to follow up the post and further clarify my observations. This post was not actually about calling out people for genuine concern for animals in Gaza, but rather the mainly non-vegans who are just using the situation to dunk on Israel, as proven by the fact that they will not condemn the brutal human supremacist regime enacted on animals by Gazans. To people not understanding what's going on here, let me use an identical example using a side of the political spectrum you probably don't like, and that is the right wing in the UK, who actually do the same thing but with a different situation. Allow me to explain. In the UK, we have these men who are pejoratively referred to as Gammons. Personally, I think gammon is a distasteful term, and I don't use it because I think it's a bit stupid and plays into racial stereotypes. But to explain what a gammon is an angry, usually middle-aged white man who is angry about immigrants or Muslims or whoever else, and whose cheeks turn a pinkish red, i.e. the colour of gammon, with anger whenever he talks about such groups. Now, every vegan in the UK will have heard something like this from Gammons, either in real life or commenting on their posts. Oi, you lot, you're vegans, ain't ya? Yeah? What are you lot doing about halal? Yeah? There's all these fucking Muslims going around torturing animals to death in these slaughterhouses. They ain't even stunning them. What are you lot doing about that then, eh? Yeah? You're an animal rights group, ain't ya? Yeah? So why aren't you speaking up about halal meat? Now, any vegan with half a brain knows that these quote-unquote gammons aren't actually doing this out of concern for animal rights. Hence, you see them at the kebab shops run by Turks, at the Indian restaurants in the UK run by predominantly by Bangladeshi Muslims, and buying halal meat in UK supermarkets and chain restaurants on top of the non-halal torture products they buy that also cause tremendous amounts of suffering. They're doing it to dunk on Muslims, a group they don't want in the country, and they're using animals to get vegans to speak up about them as a way to scrutinise them. Now, here's the thing. The anti-Israel people are doing exactly what these gammons are doing, but with Israel and Israelis. They don't actually care about the animal rights message they're asking you to bring up. Hence why when you ask them if it would be okay to condemn Palestinians torturing animals, they change their tune. If you just want to get vegans to talk about donkeys being bombed by the IDF to dunk on Israel, but then get angry and defensive when it's brought up that that donkey is being enslaved and abused, or even used as a suicide bombers by Palestinians, you are that gammon. You are no different from the right-wing British guy using animal suffering to get vegans to take a cheap shot at a group he dislikes. Yeah, what you vegans doing about halal then, eh? Hey, all these animals getting their throats slit without being stunned. Oh, you mean those animals you eat, yeah? Oh, by the way, will you take a second to condemn the farming of those non-halal slaughtered animals you eat, like the pigs being forced into gas chambers by non-Muslims? Hey, what you talking about, eh? Them British farmers, mate, they're the salt of the earth, trying to make a living, and you lot are fucking going on about them. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Them pig farmers are trying to feed the nation, they are, yeah. Right, it's the same thing. Hey, you are an animal rights page, right? You gonna speak up for the animals in Gaza not being fed and being bombed because of Israel? Oh, you mean the animals being enslaved and oppressed in the first place by the Palestinians, yeah? Huh? Oh my God, how dare you? You Zionist! Fucking Zionist! How dare you say that? Right, you're now being like that gammon who changes his tune as soon as you mention the pig farmers. Animals do not exist for you to dunk on groups and countries you dislike, whether that's Muslims, Jews, Israel, Israelis, or whatever. If you are actually concerned about animal oppression, you need to condemn the oppression being caused by the groups you like as well, and no group gets a free pass to not be held accountable for animal oppression. That post I did on Instagram was filled to the brim with apologist vegans acting like utter gammons from a pro-Palestine standpoint, saying it's not the time to blame Palestinians for animal abuse or that this is victim blaming. Sorry, but that is speciesist as fuck. If a woman gets raped by Palestinians in Palestine, is it not the time to convict her rapists? Is it victim blaming to condemn the rapists for the rape because, oh, Israel though? Of course not. So the same applies when animals are the victims of Palestinian oppression. I'd also like to address the argument that my post was stupid because it's not the Palestinians' fault that animals are bred into a war zone because it's allegedly a war zone Israel created. Sorry, but that is the biggest load of BS I've ever heard. Let's grant that statement as true, that Israel are the ones who made it a war zone. How the fuck does this absolve the one who put the animal into that fucking war zone that another country created? Why does the animal care who started the bullshit? As someone who comes from a country that was heavily bombed itself in a war Germany started, the idea that the breeders and oppressors of the animals in the country being bombed are not responsible is ridiculous. So yes, as a British person, I will tell you now, from what my grandparents experienced, cities razed to the ground, the dead bodies of children pulled from the rubble every single day, people being forced to sleep in tube stations as their homes above them were being pulverised. Any animals being bred into the war zone that was Great Britain at the time, whether to pull people around on carts or to have their throats slit for food, was the fault of British people and British people alone. You don't see me going, oh, the Germans. It's the Germans' fault that animals were being bred in London and Bristol and Coventry and all the other cities here that got bombed to shit by the Luftwaffe. Utter bollocks. Anyway, that was my statement on the disingenuous use of animals for political point scoring and to dunk on groups people dislike. I'll probably follow this up with another statement video about the disingenuous concern for anti-Semitism I've seen from vegans in the movement over the years, which I believe now more than ever is being thoroughly exposed.